Amidst the endless waves, the steel-hulled ship stood tall like a mobile fortress, cutting through the currents and surging forward. The clock in the cabin now indicated the most tense hours of the fishing trip. Last night, the fish finder had scanned a particularly strong signal area, a dense, bright red glow displayed on the digital screen, indicating a massive school of fish moving at depths of dozens of fathoms. It wasn't an ordinary school of fish. They knew that beneath the deep blue waters, a vast treasure, the fruit of countless days battling the raging waves, awaited them, but the ocean never yielded its bounty easily. Catching 100 tons of fish required a combination of experience, precision down to the meter, and unwavering teamwork, where a single mistake could lead to torn nets, lost fish, or even life-threatening danger in the wild open sea. The chains strung taut, their dry, screeching sounds echoing under immense pressure. The steel cables, as thick as an adult's wrist, swelled and vibrated violently under the tremendous drag from the depths of the sea. At this moment, the net, thousands of meters long and hundreds of meters deep, had completely enveloped the school of fish. The encirclement was shrinking. The previously calm sea surface suddenly churned. The gentle waves began to swirl. Millions of fish were frantically trying to escape, crashing into each other, creating a terrifying drag against the ship's pulling force. All the fishermen on deck were divided into groups, standing along the sides of the vessel. Their faces were tense, their muscles bulging beneath their sweat-soaked shirts. They clung tightly to the ship's railings, using their rough, callous hands to steer and keep the nets from tangling. The sheer weight of the catch caused even the hundreds of ton steel-hulled ship to tilt sharply to one side. The hull sank deeper into the water. Each meter of net pulled onto the deck was a meter of victory, but the pressure increased exponentially. The sunlight began to shine down, illuminating a magnificent spectacle never seen before. The central net bag, the concentrated essence of the catch, slowly rose from the water. A colossal mass of silver was alive, dancing and glittering in the sunlight. Hundreds of tons of fish, mostly tuna, mackerel, and scad, with their sturdy bodies, thrashed their tails wildly, creating a roaring sound like a torrential downpour on the sea. The power of wildlife crashed against the net woven from ultra-durable synthetic fibers. At this moment, the mesh stretched its absolute limit. Just one scratch, one weak point in the net that bursts, and all the hard work of the entire voyage will go up in smoke. That's why the mechanics and the most skilled fishermen must closely monitor every centimeter of net as it moves across the hydraulic rollers with their naked eyes. The concentration is absolute. No one dares to be careless. No one dares to breathe a sigh of relief until the catch is completely under control. as the enormous net bag, containing hundreds of tons of fish, was slowly lifted out of the water by a massive hydraulic crane. The atmosphere on the ship seemed to erupt, but it wasn't a moment of relaxation. It was the acceleration of a biological machine working at 200% capacity. The heavy, round net, like a small hill suspended in midair, poured seawater from the bag onto the deck like small waterfalls, washing away the beads of sweat rolling down the fisherman's cheeks. The cold of the sea and the heat of arduous labor blend together. Viewed from above, this scene resembles an epic painting of humanity's conquest of nature and the universe. These seafaring men, small in stature compared to the vastness of the ocean and the enormous catch, possess the will and actions of giants. They coordinate seamlessly, like a pre-programmed dance. The crane operator must possess a cool head and extremely precise hands to guide the hundreds of tons of fish mass precisely into the center of the ship's deck, where the storage hatches are open, without unbalancing the ship or tearing the nets by colliding with the surrounding sturdy steel structures. Each time the mass of fish moves, the ship sways and rocks. The waves outside continue to crash against the ship's sides, as if demanding the ocean's treasure back. And then, the most anticipated moment arrived. The enormous net bag was now positioned directly above the freezer opening. The foreman, his protective clothing soaking wet, approached the knot at the bottom of the bag to release the net. This was the most dangerous and courageous step. He had to yank the securing rope under immense pressure from hundreds of tons of fish above. A sharp click echoed, and the knot was released. Instantly, a torrent of silver erupted. Hundreds of tons of fresh fish, their skin gleaming and sparkling like gold, poured into the ship's hold like a silver avalanche. The sound of the fish crashing down was deafening, a thick, powerful roar that shook the entire deck. Fish overflowed the deck, filled the holds, and the torrent of fish seemed to flow on and on, seemingly without end. The distinctive scent of the sea, the fresh aroma of freshly caught fish, filled the air. Down in the ship's hold, another group of fishermen stood ready in the bone-chilling cold of the ice, crushing system and the circulating seawater at sub-zero temperatures. Their task was to quickly sort, spread out the fish, and bury them in ice to ensure absolute freshness, preserving the nutritional and commercial value of each fish before bringing them ashore. They worked tirelessly in the darkness of the hold, surrounded by tons of fresh fish, their hands moving swiftly and without fatigue. On the ship's deck, radiant, contented smiles finally bloomed on faces tanned by the sun, wind, and sea salt. There were high fives filled with exhilaration and glances exchanged with pride. 100-ton haul of nets had safely and completely landed inside the ship's hold. This wasn't just the result of a day's labor. It was the livelihood for families back home, the motivation for the ships to continue sailing the waves. The weight of hundreds of tons of fish caused the sea level outside the ship to rise, lapping at the edge of the deck, but no one on board showed any sign of stopping. The clock in the cabin showed it was now past the 4th watch. The night was thick and dark, but the ship's high-powered lights were switched on, transforming the vessel into a dazzling island of light in the middle of the dark ocean. The neon lights reflected off the glossy fish scales, creating shimmering streaks. The steel hold of the ship at this moment resembled a completely different world, a world of biting cold and the distinctive smell of the sea. The ice crushers ran at full power, spewing out thick white mist that enveloped the continuous stream of fish being dumped from the hold. The fishermen in the hold, their feet submerged in the knee-deep fish, their hands, clad in rough protective gear, moved swiftly and efficiently without a single misstep. Watching the continuous stream of fish pouring into the hold, the foreman, a veteran of 30 years at sea, stood on the deck, gently wiping away the seawater, clinging to his eyelashes, and smiling contentedly. He recalled the early days at sea on small wooden boats, where a catch of a few tons was a miracle and preservation depended entirely on the luck of the weather. Now, he stood on the deck of a modern steel-hulled ship, equipped with a state-of-the-art hydraulic winch system. And that was also the moment the last net was shaken clean. The last fish from the 100-ton haul was safely stored in the hold. The thick steel hold door slammed shut. The locking system tightened, sealing the entire fruits of a long night's hard work in the cold, absolutely safe space. At this point, the deck, which had been covered in fish and seawater, was quickly cleaned by the fishermen using high-pressure water hoses. The ship started its engines again, cutting through the waves and heading forward, carrying with it the joy of abundance in its hold and the aspiration to reach further, to master the seas, and to assert the sacred sovereignty of the nation over every square nautical mile of its coastline. The epic of the sea will never fade, for it is written every day by the hands, minds, and hearts of the heroes at the forefront of the waves.